Welcome to the Explainer. If you live in a suburb, you're probably all too familiar with this feeling. Everything requires a car. Well, today we're going to dig into a really interesting blueprint, a roadmap really, for how we can change that. We're talking about transforming those quiet bedroom communities into lively 24/7 neighborhoods.
Okay, so when I say suburb, what pops into your head? Probably something a lot like this, right? The whole white picket fence, perfectly manicured lawn thing, a car in every driveway. It's that classic image of the American dream. But here's the thing, that dream? It's basically a fossil. The reality of who actually lives in the suburbs today is totally different.
Yeah, just look at the numbers. Today's suburbs are this incredible mosaic of people. The 2020 census data shows they're younger, way more diverse, and just more dynamic than ever. But here's the massive disconnect. All these people are living in a world that was literally designed for their grandparents. The physical layout, the zoning, it's all basically frozen in the 1950s.
So, the big question is, how do we fix this? How do we bridge that gap? Well, that's what this is all about. We've got a 5-part blueprint to walk you through. We're going to look at how to repair those broken street grids, how to activate neighborhood hubs, and in the end, how to build suburbs that actually work for the people who live there now, not just for their cars.
Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1. To really get this, you have to understand that the problem isn't just about how things look. It's not a matter of taste. No, this is a systemic issue. It's a system that's been, hardwired to create the very problems we're talking about. It's written, literally, into the law, into our zoning codes.
Get a load of this number, 75%. In most American cities, 3/4 of the urbanized land is zoned only for single-family homes. Just let that sink in for a second. That means it is literally illegal to build a little corner store or a cafe or even a duplex in most of these neighborhoods. This is the legal code that forces you into your car for literally everything.
So, what's the result of all this? Well, you get what's basically a ghost town economy. Our suburbs are designed to be empty from 9 to 5, and that is a huge economic drain. But what if we could just flip that script completely? What if we could take these dormant communities and turn them into thriving, active economic hubs?
There's a reason we call them dormitory suburbs. It's kind of like a hotel, right? You sleep there, but you don't really live there. The streets are busy for a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the evening, but the rest of the day, tumbleweeds. And that's just a recipe for economic stagnation.
The alternative, the solution here, is to build what we call a daytime economy. Just imagine a suburb that's actually alive all day, a place where you could walk to a coffee shop, to work, meet up with a friend for lunch, and then maybe grab some groceries on your walk home. That's the vision. That's what a complete community looks like. And this picture really captures that goal, doesn't it? A 24-hour neighborhood. And look, this is not about turning suburbs into downtown Manhattan. It's about creating a place where you can live, work, and play, all without needing your car keys. A community that feels just as alive and vibrant at 2 in the afternoon as it does at 8 at night.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? Let's get into the practical, nuts and bolts part of the blueprint. We're going to start with the absolute foundation of these communities, the streets themselves. You have to remember our suburbs were designed intentionally for cars, not for people. And what you get is this maze of cul-de-sacs and dead ends that makes walking or biking just a total nightmare. You've probably experienced this. You can see the grocery store right there from your window, but to actually get there, you have to drive 1.5 miles around all these winding streets. It's a system that is literally designed to be inefficient for anyone not in a car.
So what's the fix? Well, it turns out it's surprisingly simple, pretty cheap, and really elegant. You create cut-throughs. Basically, you just punch a small hole at the end of a cul-de-sac and create a direct path for people walking and biking. It's like a tiny surgical intervention that can completely transform a neighborhood, almost overnight. And you can see a real-world example right here. These little changes have a massive impact. They're like finding a secret key that unlocks a neighborhood's potential. All of a sudden, that frustrating 20-minute walk becomes a pleasant 2-minute stroll. A community that was totally car-dependent becomes walkable. It is a total game changer.
All right, so we've started repairing the street grid. That's step 1. But now what? A network of paths is really only as good as the destinations it connects you to, right? So the next step in the blueprint is to create and activate these destinations. And the best part is, we don't necessarily have to build a bunch of new stuff. We can just be smarter about using what we already have. This is where the hub and spoke model comes in. The idea is to take existing places, like schools, libraries, and civic centers, and have them double as local transit hubs. What these hubs do is solve that classic first and last mile problem.
You know what I'm talking about, right? You get off the train or the bus, but you're still a mile or two from your actual front door. Well, these hubs bridge that gap. They become the place where you can easily find a scooter, an e-bike, or maybe a little neighborhood shuttle to take you the rest of the way home.
Okay, so we've talked about fixing the grid, we've talked about activating these hubs. Let's get to the bottom line. What's the big payoff here? Well, it's huge. For policymakers, for residents, for everyone.
For city officials, for the people who can actually make these changes happen, the roadmap boils down to 3 key steps. First, you've got to lay the foundation with what's called gentle density, more housing options. Second, you unlock the potential by cutting the red tape for small, local businesses. And third, you actively cultivate this new live-work ecosystem. That's the economic engine.
And we haven't even really touched on the environmental benefits yet, which are just staggering. A suburban resident's carbon footprint can be 3 times larger than someone living in a dense city core. This whole blueprint is a direct attack on that waste and inefficiency. It's fundamentally about getting us out of our cars and back into our own communities. Ultimately, the vision here is about so much more than just convenience. It's about building communities that are more equitable, more sustainable, and way more economically resilient. It's about creating a world where you don't need to own a car just to buy a gallon of milk or to participate fully in society. It's a shift from segregation to real connectivity.
Look, this isn't some pie-in-the-sky fantasy. This is a practical, achievable blueprint for a better future. It's not about turning suburbs into cities, but about letting them evolve into the complete, connected communities their residents clearly need them to be. So the real question for you is, what's that one little surgical intervention, that one trail connection, that one zoning tweak that could kickstart this transformation right where you live?